Hi, I'm Katie.
And I'm Kayla.
And you're watching
The Katie and Kayla Show. Alright.
Alright. We're gonna get used to that one day.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Okay. Yeah,
Anyways.
probably. Anyway. So welcome back. Thank you for being gracious while I took a nice little week-long vacation. How was your week, Kayla?
Busy. Just trying to get everything ready to move and everything like that.
Kayla needs a vacation too.
Yes, I do.
So this week we're actually going to be talking about the Rayshard Brooks case. So Kayla, first of all, I think let's just go over like the background of what's going on in Atlanta with this case, what happened. We can review some of the footage and talk about, what it depicts, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah. So basically what happened in the case, like from my understanding, just like a rough overall outline is, a Wendy's employee called the cops because they found a man unconscious in the car. They tried to wake him up. They were unsuccessful at waking him up. So they called the police. The police came, they woke him up, and originally they just asked him a couple of questions like, hey, what's it going? Like, I think in the video there was like, did you have a long day? It was very a cordial thing. It was a very run-of-the-mill type of response. And then they decided to get him out of the car because he was behind the wheel, and they decided to test him for a DUI. So they took him out, they did a sobriety test. He failed the sobriety test by a lot. And at that point, they tried to arrest him and put him in handcuffs, and he started to resist the officers. Both officers started to try to get him on the ground so they can arrest him, and he fought off both officers. One officer had received a concussion from the exchange, and then during the fight on the ground, Rayshard Brooks grabbed the taser of an officer and began to run away. But as you can see in the video, he turned around and fired the taser at the police officer, kind of in like literally in this motion right here, as you can see in the video. And at that point, the officer who was chasing after him dropped his taser, pulled his gun, and fired 3 shots, killing Rayshard Brooks. Two of which landed in his back, one of which landed in the bumper of another car with people in it.
Right, so that's pretty much the outline of the case, and let's clarify just a few things. So he wasn't even just in the parking lot of Wendy's. He fell asleep in the drive-through line. So first of all, he wasn't just, for people who are saying he was just minding his own business. Okay, he was in the drive-through line and he fell asleep. Other customers weren't able to get to the window. So, like Kayla said, officers woke him up, and then he was in fact driving under the influence. And so, that's not good. He wasn't just minding his own business there either. Like, you cannot drive with alcohol in your system. That's highly dangerous, and I hope none of us think that's okay. I hope none of us think that's just somebody minding their own business, because that could be somebody's kid who gets killed, or somebody's wife or husband who gets killed when that person with alcohol in their system drives off into them. And then after, like Kayla said, they talked for a long period of time, and it was cordial, it was fine. This man does have a long rap sheet, so I'm sure that when they pulled up his name, the police officer saw that and might have been a little concerned. And once they decided to arrest him, they got him on the ground and he started to resist, and he literally is reaching for the officer's taser. Okay, and so in this altercation, like we said, one of the officers gets a concussion, and when Rayshard Brooks is running away, like Kayla showed, he turned his back and shot the taser back at the officers. And I've heard many commentators say, if he had just kept running and not turned back around, he might not be dead right now.
That's the general consensus among everyone.
Yeah. But when you choose to take a weapon and point it at an officer with intent to shoot, no matter what kind of weapon it is, and in Georgia, a taser is considered a deadly weapon, by the way. So he had a deadly weapon and was shooting it at an officer, while the other officer is on the ground with a concussion. What is this officer supposed to do besides shoot? Kayla, what do you think?
So I think it's a sticky situation, kind of. I've actually talked to a lot of people about this, and a lot of people say that like the whole struggle really happened was because they were trying so hard not to put Rayshard Brooks in a chokehold to get into handcuff him. I don't know what I think about that whole thing. However, I do know that he had assaulted a police officer at that point, because the obvious fact of a concussion is assault on a police officer. So that automatically escalated the situation a little bit. Had he kept running, I fully believe that he would have been fine, because I've seen a lot of situations on what cops do when people just keep running. A lot of times they'll call in backup, so they'll have police cars like patrolling the area, and they normally can like kind of, I don't know how they do it, but they normally can kind of predict where he's going to come out when he runs in a certain area. And they would have caught him that way. But the fact that he had stolen a police officer's weapon and had turned it back, and I believe that they actually said he fired it. I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe that they said he fired it, and I think it missed. And that's why the taser was dropped and the gun was pulled.
Right. And then the next day, they come out with a charge on the officer of felony murder. Now, felony murder is a charge where you're committing a felony, such as like a bank robbery, and someone just happens to die or get hurt because of those actions while you're doing that felony. Okay, that is asinine. It's insane to charge this officer with that. In my opinion, the officer was doing his job exactly as he should have. I'm not saying it's justified that this man should have died, but that officer also had a right to protect his life and his co-worker's life, who was on the ground with a concussion, dang it.
Also, along those lines, I want to say that, DA, yeah, I'm gonna go with DA. I'm not sure if he's a DA, but the district attorney actually came out and said it was a taser, but it was already fired twice, so it would have rendered it significantly less powerful or useless, and the officer should have known that. And I was like, yes, because he's totally counting the amount of times the taser is being used while he's, you know, fighting some person trying to keep a hold of his weapons. And, you know, so I'm kind of just I'm asympathetic to that argument. Like, no cop is going to sit there and be like, okay, well, like, let me think about this while he's pointing this taser at me with the intent to shoot me in the face. Like, mind you, it was pointed at his face. So, like, hang on. Wait, don't shoot yet. Let me decide if I'm going to put a bullet in you by calculating how much current is still supposed to be in that taser.
Yes. What? Insane. And so, as a result of this shooting, Kayla, why don't you tell us what happened to that poor Wendy's establishment?
Okay, so I saw a video on Twitter. The Wendy's did end up getting burnt down after like a bunch of people went and protested it, and then it burnt down. And I think actually that this Wendy's was on one of the Twitter accounts I follow, because they were at that protest and they started screen recording, and there's like this white girl sitting there with a lighter, and I'm just like, honey. But no, they actually like went and they burnt down this Wendy's. So not only did, you know, like, now all these people are out of a job, on top of COVID, on top of all these other riots that are burning places down, like.
So, also because of this and the charge that was placed on the officer, the Atlanta Police Department, most of the precincts, I think all but 2 maybe, have decided to not come into work.
So different shifts, they've like all decided to come off of work. There was like one part that was like they had 1 officer show up when they usually have a couple dozen. And so the mayor had to ask like outlying counties, and like they asked the National Guard, the DA National Guard, and they're like, hey, can you guys come take care of Atlanta and be like police officers? They're like, nah, have fun.
Yeah, they literally said no, unless it is an officer down, we will not respond.
Yeah.
And good for them, because the entire, you know, charging of this officer with felony murder just shows these other police officers that their lives aren't important anymore, and they're not allowed to protect themselves against, you know, a violent criminal. and they're just supposed to lay down, put their hands up, and let the criminal do as they may. And so if an officer feels like they can't protect themselves or aren't respected on the job, which right now all over the country, officers probably feel not respected. And I'm so sorry. I respect you to our good law enforcement officers. Of course, there are some bad apples and corruption in there somewhere. And hey, let's just abolish police unions, because unions protect bad cops. But, sorry Kayla, I'm kind of going off. I'm really feeling it. But I respect all the good law enforcement officers that we have, and I would just like to say thank you, okay? Because you could probably use it. But I totally understand and respect you not going into work, Atlanta PD, because you feel like your lives don't matter and your job is not respected right now. So yeah, I suggest you do that and continue to do that until
Yeah, and obviously I don't agree with everything you just said. Like, I'm totally for abolishing police unions because they do protect bad cops and everything like that, and I do think that the majority of cops are good. However, it's like we've come to the point in society, and with all of this rioting and everything going on, and I'm a libertarian. Like, if none of you have seen my videos, I'm a libertarian, and so I fully believe in police brutality as a thing, and I totally believe that we need to have a discussion over it. I don't necessarily think it's always race-based. I think it's more power-based, but that's besides the point. And I'm totally for this conversation, but we've reached a point in these protests and in society today that is impossible for police officers to do their jobs. I'm personally friends with a lot of police officers. I'm friends with my local sheriff. I've worked on his campaign and everything like that. I think that they're generally good guys. But it's impossible to do their jobs. It straight up is. And especially with everything going on nowadays, it's just getting harder and harder for people to protect us. So we want to help them help us, and this is not doing that.
Absolutely. So does the left really want to have a conversation about police brutality? Or do they actually just want to riot and tear down statues and destroy things? What do they actually want here? I'm thinking, Kayla, that they're just looking for a revolution, and this is how they're going to get it. They're going to go through police brutality, which I think is real and does happen and should be talked about, but this is not the way to talk about it. What do you think, Kayla?
Well, my thing that really bothers me is that I've been saying that police brutality is a thing for a while now. Like, I don't necessarily believe in Black Lives Matter, the organization, but I think that this is something that needs to be talked about and needs to be fixed because there's obviously a systematic issue here. Do I believe that that issue is racism? Not in all cases. I think that in some cases, yes, but not in all. But I was so excited because finally all of my friends who are like tradcons, hardcore conservatives,
hey,
like, no, Blue Lives Matter, like, hey, I mean, no offense, Katie, but like,
tradcon.
They were finally coming around to being like, oh wait, police brutality is a thing. It is real. It's not just like this propaganda thing that people are just using to fight for social justice. And I'm like, no, it's actually a thing that happens, and we need to talk about it, and we need to fix it. And all of a sudden, all this looting and rioting happened, and it got blown out of proportion, and now it just shut everybody off from conversation. So we're not going to fix this problem because everyone's out there destroying the cities, and nobody wants to talk to someone and be friends with somebody who's out there destroying the city and destroying their workplace and destroying their livelihood. Like, you're threatening them and their families at that point.
Legit, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how anyone thinks this is productive. Yeah, sure, I guess, like, if a toddler whines enough, their mom might give them what they want. And I guess we're seeing some of that here in the country with the left. You know, since they're whining enough, we might give them a little bit of what they want, but it's never going to be, it's only going to make conservatives and libertarians more bitter towards you because you're just whining for what you want, and we're going to give you a little bit so you'll shut up. And so it's just going to make us more bitter towards you and make us more likely to not want to have a conversation with you because we know that you're not rational.
Well, that's also on a side note, is like, these people keep whining and the government keeps giving them what they want. And I'm like, yeah, how did that appeasement strategy go for you in World War II, huh? I mean, everyone just tried to appease Hitler and get Hitler to like, hey, don't bother me because like I'm giving you what you want. Yeah, and then we ended up with a genocide and 6 million Jews died.
Yeah. So don't bow to the mob. That's the lesson of the day from the Katie and Kayla show.
I fight with a lot of my Twitter friends about this. Never bow to the mob.
Never.
Ever.
You'll never win.
Not only that, like, screw winning. It's just like it always ends up in a worse situation because it's like that book. Have you guys ever read that book when you were kids? If you give a mouse a cookie, then he wants a glass of milk. If you give a mouse a glass of milk, he wants a mirror to make sure he doesn't have a milk mustache. And like the book just keeps going on like that until it circles back to he wants a cookie.
Does this mean I can mark our video for the kids section of YouTube now?
No, no, I'm not dealing with those restrictions. Those are ridiculous.
All right, so yeah, you heard it here first. Don't give a mouse a cookie.
Don't give a mouse a cookie.
And Kayla, I mean, we're both white. What kind of place do we even have talking about these issues?
Wait a second, I'm white? I didn't know that. That's shocking. That's brand new news to me. It's not like I look in the mirror every day and I'm just blinded by this light just shining off my face.
Okay, but that's kind of relatable. Cause like, same. I got some color at the beach last week, but like.
But we have a place talking about this because each individual person, as a citizen of this nation's duty to talk about and fix problems that they address in the nation. So, police brutality is a thing. Yes, I believe police brutality is a thing. I know that I have to work to fix it. So what am I doing? I'm going out, I'm talking to police officers. I'm going out, I'm campaigning for people who I think are going to be good cops, good sheriffs. I'm going out and working for people who I think are going to implement better policies to fix that issue. And that is my job as a citizen of this nation to fix the problems that I acknowledge. And one of the problems that I acknowledge are these rioters and looters and everyone just making police lives hard. Like police jobs hard. Because at this point it has become impossible for police officers in Atlanta to protect the good citizens that are not going out, that are not causing mischief, that are not being criminals. And that's on every side of the board. Like even the peaceful protesters that are sitting there with signs, I fully support them and I fully back them. Those people are doing good things. However, these people that are burning down buildings are hurting individuals. They are hurting Americans. They are hurting people's livelihoods and their families. And so I don't have any sympathy for them, but all those people, but everybody else needs to be protected. Everybody else needs to be able to feel safe just by living their day to day. And that's something I firmly believe in, and everyone always has that right, and we should work to ensure everybody has that right. But one of the ways that we ensure that everyone has that right is that we ensure good cops can still protect good people.
Keep in mind that a police officer's job is not the easiest job to do in the first place. And so for this just to make it so much harder, you're right. I mean, it's almost impossible, and it's probably extremely difficult to be a police officer in this nation right now. Thank you so much for watching. Kayla, do you want to go ahead and plug all our stuff since you know where it all is?
Alright, so guys, make sure you go check us out on anchor.fm/probably-political. You could donate to us there if you want to help get us through college, because that's a struggle. You could donate for as little as 99 cents a month, and you can cancel anytime. Also, follow us on all of our social media, so that's going to be Twitter @probpolitical, Instagram @probably_political, and Facebook @probablypolitical. And that's all I got. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment down below because we want to interact with you sometime.
Yes, we love you. Sometimes.
Katie.
All right, I'm Katie.
And I'm Kayla.
And thank you so much for watching the Katie and Kayla show. See you next time.